Hey folks, welcome back to the kitchen here at Markelly Farm. If you recall, a couple days ago we made some Cowboy candy. We had a whole bunch of that pepper syrup left over. So we're going to make some pepper jelly out of that today. So if you're interested, stick around, we'll get it done. We're going to work on our whole gallon that we had here. We have another 2 quarts that we're going to save for something else. So we're going to strain this gallon into our pot. This shouldn't be more than just cooking this down. We might add some sure gel to it. We will see. We'll do some tests and we'll get this going. Let's get this strained into our pot. See if we can do this without making a mess. Got some sediment in the jar. We'll go ahead and leave that in there. Alright, we're going to turn the fire on underneath this. We'll get it simmering. Alright, we're about to a simmer. We added the candy thermometer to the pot, and I'm going to tell you why we did that. Now, making jelly is similar to making candy. The hotter the mixture gets, the more firm it will set, all the way up to like hard cracked candy when you're dealing with sugars in the mix. If you remember, there's a lot of sugar in this mix. So normally your water boils at 212 degrees. Well, as that water boils out of the mixture, it allows the mixture to get hotter and hotter and hotter. We're looking for a range about 220 degrees, which is what your jelly will gel at sea level. Now, if you're above sea level, you would subtract 2 degrees for every 1,000 feet. So we're a couple thousand feet above sea level here, so we would be more around 216 degrees. So once we reach that temperature in the pot, we'll actually do a check. We'll pull some of the mixture out and we'll cool it off like a little cup in the freezer to make sure it's going to gel. And then once we know it's going to gel, then we can bottle it up and we're good to go. Mixture's boiling. We're just over 200 degrees right now, about 215 or so. We're going to get our big stock pot ready because we're not going to have very many jars, so we'll just water bath in this. Now, say you're making jelly and your jelly does not set. You have a couple options. You can either empty all your jars back out, put it back in the pot, and then bring it up, redo it, bring it up to about 220 degrees and do a check before you jar. If not, you can just call it syrup. It doesn't have to be jelly. You can use that syrup in lots of stuff like stir fries and cook some like shrimp in a skillet and put some of that syrup in there with some garlic and some other stuff. Serve it over rice. It's fantastic. So back before I knew the tricks to making jelly, you get a couple disasters to where you get your stuff in a jar and it's just not set up. It's thick, but it's not jelly. But you can use that stuff. We filled our pot with hot water from the sink, so it doesn't take near as long to come to boiling. We're about 215 degrees on our liquid here still. So when we reach about 216, 217, we'll pull a little bit out and we'll check the gel on it. Now, once your mixture reaches that temperature that you want, your desired temp, you have time. It's not like you're in a mad dash to get things done. You only need to reach that level one time. You don't need to maintain it because you've already reached it. So as the liquid temperature comes down, it'll set, but it's got to go pretty far down to set. So as long as you turn your fire off to where you're not getting any higher, You can come back down to 200 or whatever. As long as your mixture is still liquid, you can put it in the jars, no problem. It's not like a mad dash. So we have time to check this when we want to. We just turn the fire down once we reach our temperature, and once it checks out, we'll jar it up. We're going to go ahead and put our lids in here to sterilize. I just use a colander, and then that way we can pull that out when we're ready to go. Now some people would ask, how do you know how many jars to get ready? Well, we know we're dealing with a gallon of liquid, which is 4 quarts, which would be 8 pints, and we're reducing that liquid, so we know we need at least 8. I have more in there because I don't want the jars to fall over. You can have empty jars in your canner, it's fine. So if you didn't understand the concept of the temperature thing before, let me try to explain it a different way. So if this was just plain water, this would boil and boil and boil and boil until it was all gone and never get above like 212 degrees, because that's the temperature that water boils at. But because we have sugar in the mixture, we're concentrating the mixture. We're changing the balance of water and sugar. So the point at which a sugar will do a certain thing depends on how much water is in the mix. So as we boil water out, we're changing the ratio of water to sugar. We're getting less and less water. And we know that by the temperature going up, because as water leaves, it takes more temperature to boil this mix, because the water is leaving, it's not cooling off the mixture like it is. So that's why we can gauge how thick the syrup's going to be by the temperature, because the more water leaves, the higher the temperature gets. This will go clear to rock candy stage. If you boil most of the water out of this, you won't have much left in the pot. But when that cools, it'll be like hard rock candy if you went that far, because there'd be a lot more sugar than water. Now, stuff like jams and apple butter and stuff like that are the same thing. Yes, there's sugar in the fruit, and say you cooked fruit down long enough, it would concentrate the sugars enough to where it would get thick. But we add sugar to the mix too to make it sweeter, so it's not as tart. So we're adding sugar to the mix. But like apple butter, you just cook it and cook it and cook it. You're boiling the water out of it, concentrating the sugars until it gets thick like jam. Same process. Alright, we've reached temp. We're taking any of this stuff that comes up on top out of here, because that won't look good on top of your jelly jars. So we're going to do a test on our mix here. We're going to put some in our little cup and we'll put it in the freezer. So meanwhile, we're going to keep this at just a low simmer, just to maintain it in a liquid form so it doesn't start setting up. And then we can start pulling our jars out one by one, filling them up, getting them in the water bath. Alright, we've got our little test cup. You can see that it gelled just fine. So time to bottle. Jars are already hot from being in the canner in that boiling water. We're just taking them out one at a time. My mixture has reduced by about half, so we'll be lucky to get probably 4 jars out of this. Got our sterilized lids. Give that a little snugging. Put it in the canner. Our mixture reduced by pretty much exactly by half, because we have 4 pints and we started out with 4 quarts in this pot here. We got just a little bit left in the pot. We'll just put it in a little dish and put it in the fridge. We can use it right away. But this boiled, this simmered for my guess was a little over an hour to reduce that down 50%. So we'll bring this back up to a boil. Once it reaches a boil, We'll be 10 minutes and we'll be done. All right, we're boiling. 10 minutes. All right, 10 minutes is over. We got the fire turned off. We're going to take our lid off. Wait for this thing to stop boiling. We'll pull our jars out. Look at that beautiful dark sweet heat right there in the jar. Well, that's going to do it for our job here in the kitchen today. We were doing other stuff along the way. More volleyball to go to tonight, so we're excited. Hope you enjoyed this little process. It's a good idea to use some of this stuff up. Got another good idea while I was doing it. This is going to be really good, like on chicken wings. Be fantastic. So, till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us at the farm.